it's been a year since I said I was gonna do this, but we're here, finally. It's time for me to watch the MCU movies and see how they hold up. This is the beginning of a series that I want to do where I go back and just watch all the movies in order, and I'll probably also go back and watch the shows, but we didn't start in order of chronology in terms of the history of the MCU, because if we did, I would have started with Agent Carter. But no, we're gonna start with in order of release, we're gonna start. So I'm starting with Iron Man, and now I know some of you might be saying, but Amanda, wait a minute, you gotta start with Hulk. Shouldn't we start with Hulk? Look, Hulk never got taken into the MCU. It never got fully incorporated, so that's why I'm starting with Iron Man. But if you guys want to hear my thoughts on Hulk movies, that can be its own video. Let me know in the comments. So with Iron Man, this was the first movie that we got that is considered MCU, but funnily enough, this one was actually, I believe, made by Paramount, and after watching it, I gotta wonder, what if instead of it being the Disney MCU, what if instead of Disney buying Marvel, they just kept working with Paramount? We would have like probably a totally different universe. This is a what if. This could be a what if. What if season 4. If you don't know me, hi, my name's Amanda. Some people call me Vamp because that's my username, VampX13. If this is your first time watching my channel, hello. Thanks for being here. I hope that you enjoy what we're about to do, which is talk about 2008 Iron Man. Why did I say it like that? He's an Iron Man. This film was very interesting to go back and watch because in some ways it is very 2008. And in some ways it is also very cheesy. I mean, even when I go back and look at the poster for Iron Man, I'm like, that's a poster. That's a superhero poster, all right. But the cool thing about this film is that I feel like it was happening at a time where Iron Man and superhero movies in general, actually, I shouldn't just say Iron Man. Iron Man is a hero that a lot of people put up there as one of like the top superheroes of all time. I don't think Iron Man really was the top superhero of all time until Robert Downey Jr. kind of made the character even more amazing than what we knew from the comics. Now, I know the Iron Man fans are going to come for me, and this is probably a controversial way for me to start off this video, but I said what I said, and I mean it. No, and I am not myself a very big Iron Man fan. But even as someone who that isn't my favorite hero, I can really appreciate what they did with this character in the movie. And the movie does make you like Iron Man. I mean, one of the things that I was apprehensive about, I remember when this film first came out, was the fact that it is a movie about an arms dealer, basically. Like, this is a guy that makes weapons, and we're calling him a hero, and he's like got like a bunch of money, but he's not trying to like necessarily help people. Isn't that like what we would usually call a villain? So I always thought the idea for Iron Man was kind of wacky. But then I remember when I first saw this movie, I was like, wow, Iron Man's like, this is a pretty cool guy. And having watched it again now, like 17 years later or something, wow, I'm old. Having watched it now, I have to say, Iron Man is cool. And I think the cool thing about this movie is that while there is a lot of awesome action elements to it, and a lot of cool technological stuff. Obviously, we're dealing with Iron Man, Tony Stark. He's brilliant. He is also very skilled at creating stuff. He makes his own suit. We get the suit transformation, and this is like one of the best elements of this film. When he gets suited up for the first time in his new sleek suit that he made. Also, the training montages that we get to see and appreciate just how much effort actually goes into flying an Iron Man suit, because it is not easy. Tony struggles. He hits a lot of walls. People laughed real hard at that part in the movie theater. People died of laughter. Having watched it again, not as funny when you know it's coming, but still, just seeing it, iconic. What? But the cool thing about this film is that although it does have a lot of those great moments, and obviously everything with Yinsen, which I really love, Shaun Toub, who plays Yinsen, he is so good in this. And then I was like, I hope he did other stuff. And he did do other stuff, guys. He's in like TV shows. You can still go see our boy Shaun Toub today. He's rocking it. He's so freaking good in this movie as Yinsen. And I think the best thing about the film is that it's just actors getting to act and getting to play. There's so much playful nature in the movie. And when I was watching it, now I know a little bit about how it was made, but I don't know a ton. So I was wondering how much of it was improvised, because I knew some of it was improvised. And honestly, when you're watching it, you can tell. Like, as an actor, I could tell when there were moments where I felt like people were kind of just riffing, but people know their characters so well that it's very believable. Did you actually know that this is also a film that was largely unscripted? They're basically like scripting it as they were shooting it. And when Tony has to do his demonstration of the weapons, he's wearing sunglasses because RDJ had to read the script on cue cards because they had just been workshopping that script for that scene that day. This is a film that was a bit desperate in how it was made. It feels like, you know, they're really putting everything they can into it because we had some flops when it comes to superhero films around this time. Superhero films weren't doing as hot as they had been. Now, granted, we've always had some really strong ones. I mean, obviously there were the Spider-Man films, the original ones. Obviously, I'm not talking about the Sony villain Spider-Verse, rest in peace. There were X-Men. There was also Blade. So we had some good stuff, but we'd also had some stinky ones recently. We had films like, the Fantastic Four movies. So boy, remember those ones? That was something. Elektra, remember Elektra? You know, the end of the X-Men era, which, you know, we got like Last Stand, which wasn't the best. Remember Catwoman? Catwoman was a thing. You know, the 2003 Hulk, not as well received. We had some stinky movies. So this was kind of a film that I feel you get a sense that this is like kind of a last shot here to make superhero movies cool again, to make them fun and to make them something that we could keep making them. And it was made clearly by a bunch of people who really loved superhero stories and who loved comics and wanted to bring that to us. It was also a redemption moment for Robert Downey Jr. You get this sense that he's really trying to give it his all in this role and really prove that he is worthy of this comeback. Just everyone here is on their A game, and the best part about it isn't even, like I said, these action moments. I actually think the fight at the end with Obadiah and Tony is actually like one of the least interesting parts of the film, in my opinion. Although the fact that we got Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane, the fact that we live in that reality, it feels insane to me. It feels surreal going back and watching that. But the best part is these character moments, is these actors getting to play these characters and just have these small moments together where they really get to establish their relationships with each other as characters, but also just who the characters are in these little scenes. I mean, some of my favorite scenes are the ones with Rhodey and Tony. They have a lot of really great moments. Actually, there's a really short scene where Tony, after he comes back and he announces, you know, we're not going to do weapons anymore, he goes to visit Rhodey and says he wants him to come check out what he's been working on. And Rhodey's like, oh, is it for the military? That's great, because we've all been worried that, like, you know, you left, and it's like, man, we need you here, you know? And he's like, well, no, it's not for the military. It's kind of like a just for me thing. Like, it's kind of just, I'm just keeping it for us. It's not a military thing. And Rhodey's just like, man, like, come back when you actually want to work with me. Like, this is disappointing. It's just such a heart-wrenching moment. But then you also have the oh man, this is another great one, the moment with Pepper and Tony, where Tony needs to change out his arc reactor and Pepper has to help him. It's just so cute. And then at the end, it's like feels really heavy when, you know, Pepper says, like, don't ever make me do that again. That was horrifying and gross and weird, and I didn't like it, and stressful. Tony's just like, I don't have anyone else. Like, you're all I got, Pepper. And it's like, oh, Tony. So there's a lot of really great, just small character moments that allow us to really build who these people are. And where it almost, like, just because it's an origin story doesn't mean that it can't be rewatchable and can't be fun. It's not just serving the purpose of getting us somewhere, it's actually enjoying the moments that we're in. It's a movie that feels very present. It also, like, honestly holds up in terms of how it looks, other than the CG fire and that one time when we tried to do the 2000s thing where everyone was trying to put cameras on weapons and guns and stuff. That was a whole thing that we tried that did not look good, and it does not look good in this. But thankfully, it's only one shot. But all of the character moments, the acting, just a lot of the story and what it's trying to do and build for these characters specifically is really fun. And the fact that they just kind of let actors show up and play is a strength of the early days of the MCU that I wonder, you know, how far have we gotten from it? Do we trust our talent as much as we used to? Or are we trying to build something bigger and better by simply just doing more? Which, you know, more isn't always great. In fact, I feel like a lot of the times when you're making a film, when you have less, it requires you to be more creative, to push yourself, to make something better with the resources and the time that you have. So overall, I really liked the first Iron Man, even though, yeah, it's got weird, cheesy moments, and it's got some convenient plot stuff, like when Tony gets found and the one helicopter that finds him is Rhodey's. How convenient. And when Rhodey finds him, and then he makes the joke about him riding in the fun V, and he's like, next time you're gonna ride with me. He's asking him how his ride was, and I was like, is that really what you would say when your friend is like on the verge possibly of death and you don't know what he's been through? You're gonna make a joke right now? Really, Rhodey? We're making jokes? I understand. You gotta lighten up the mood somehow. But there's also the moment of, you know, when they're on the plane and they're flying to the demonstration, and Tony encourages them to have sake, and then they're having these drinks, and then for some reason all the people on Tony's plane that work there, all his whatever you want to call them, air stewards, air hostesses, they also just become like strippers. That's the whole thing. Can I say strippers on YouTube? They become ladies of the pole, if you will. They're not even really, because they're not like dancing on the pole. They're not pole dancers. They're women that dance around a pole with their shirts all tied up. It's just it's only a second, thank goodness, but it's very 2000s. You know what I mean? So it has its moments where it's pretty corny and kind of, you're like, a little eye roll. But overall, its heart is just in the right place, and I really, really enjoyed it. Having gone back to Iron Man, I think I have to give it, honestly, I think I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. I'm actually surprised at how much I enjoyed this, because I did go back a year ago and rewatch it when I was gonna originally film this video, and I didn't like it as much. But I don't know, that extra year has just made me appreciate it even more. Maybe I've just been watching even worse movies last year, and it really made me appreciate the masterpiece that is Iron Man, because it kind of is that. Even though it's just a really fun superhero movie, there's a lot in it to appreciate in terms of the actual skill that was required to make something like this, especially when you know some of the inner workings of what was going on behind the scenes and just how much went into bringing us this film. So that's what I have for this one, friends. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on Iron Man, the original Iron Man. We're gonna continue on, so I think that means that I'll be watching the Hulk next, if we want to count that. Yeah, I guess Hulk, or we go to Iron Man 2. We either do Hulk or Iron Man 2. I guess I could watch Hulk. It is included, but then it's not really tied in because we kind of end up going in a different direction. We recast Hulk, but it's in there, so we'll probably talk about it. That's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts on Iron Man and sort of the original days, the early days of the MCU, what you think it would have been like if, you know, we hadn't had Disney doing the MCU. Do you think it would have been different? Do you think it would have been mostly the same? What changes do you think we could have seen? And, you know, how did you feel about Iron Man when you first watched it, or even going back? I mean, the one thing I will say too is that Terrance Howard, obviously not in the rest of the films for a reason, obviously, but even just watching it, I was like, man, Terrance Howard is also good in this. Like, I know he's crazy. I understand why we don't have Terrance Howard, but man, just everyone in this film is just at the top of their game. Anyways, that's all I have for this one. I'll see you next time. Until then, stay nerdy. Bye!